Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest session in our webinar series around exploring new food to go opportunities. And we're delighted that today is, first of all, number 12 in our series. And we're also delighted to have a superb guest today. So today we are joined by Spencer Craig from Pure, the founder and CEO. Spencer, very much welcome to you. I believe we may still be having some technical difficulties in getting Spencer's volume through, but that'll be resolved very shortly. Pure, well, it's brilliant that we've got Spencer on today. Pure is a business that I personally long admired. It's a key reference point in that London food to go scene, really pushing on in terms of healthier, better for you choices, but actually at the same time making that very accessible as a solution. So it's great that we've got Spencer on board today, and he'll talk us through a little bit around kind of what they've been doing over the past 18 months and talk about some of the future opportunities as well. But before we get to that, we have to do our usual roundup of some of the key events and developments that's been underway. And Benjamin, you've joined us as well today, so welcome.
Thank you, and good morning from my side. Really excited after the summer break to be back, and really much looking forward today to the great session, especially with Spencer. And it's really a great opportunity today. And as said, what we're looking into today is a little bit into, of course, Pure, but also in our latest developments. And I'm really glad to show you today a little bit of some recent developments from Switzerland. So probably you have heard and seen that already. We had a great opening yesterday of Goods, which is actually a convenience store project or concept run by Migros, or exactly by Migrolino. So it's a fantastic small concept, and I had the opportunity to go there yesterday, and I will give you a little bit insights now what I have seen. So what you can see actually here, this is the outside. That's the sitting area, the work area, co-working space area actually. And you can see that already from the outside. It's a modern design. It's not the orange anymore from Migrolino. It's something completely new and something which brings across this vitality and healthy. And even from the outside, you want to explore a little bit more in the inside.
And Ben, you say that the store opened yesterday?
Correct. So yesterday was actually the opening of it. Sorry.
Yeah. And great that you were able to go down and take a look. And again, everything you've told me around it really does look super impressive so far. So it feels like kind of a new benchmark in European convenience.
Absolutely. First, when I went there, I did not expect this impressive concept, but what you see now is really, I would say, outstanding. Especially, they really looked into every detail. So you can see now this is the concept here. I'm inside, and especially we were talking about before. I even don't know a right word for it. This banner on top. So you see that clear communication to the customer. And it fits so perfectly in. Besides that, you can see here in front some fresh sandwiches made and prepared freshly in the store. You can see the fresh fruit and vegetables assortment. And if you move forward, you can see here already that's the checkout area. And really interesting to see here is they thought about the future. So you can download the Goods app. And with that app, you can actually do a self-payment. You can scan the products, and you can do your checkout by yourself, and can also use the app for delivery, for example. So it's really a future-driven concept.
And it feels to me like there's really been a strong focus on design, and that strong focus on really celebrating fresh as well in store. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's absolutely fair to say, because you can see it from a design perspective. If you remember the Migrolino, that was like, it was a kind of a kiosk bistro. It stands for being part of a petrol station, but not actually being something known for fresh and health. They were actually known for tobacco, some snacks, and for alcohol. And now, as you said, design. You want to be there, you want to spend time, and fresh. And you can see this fresh foods kind of everywhere. So if we continue, you can see here what I really liked, fresh baking zone, where you have really high quality of baking. And what I really liked about the concept is that they you can see the freshness. So you can see them baking during the day. I spent 1.5 hours there. I could see when they filled up the shelves again. You could see they really cared about shelf life and quality. And next to it, the coffee. You can put a coffee machine, or you can work on a concept here. It's like, again, this communication. You get
Yeah.
really the screen where they tell you where the coffee comes from. So it's an authentic concept, I would say, with fresh and design.
And it's pushing on that bean to cup coffee concept beyond kind of what we've seen other people do, really, isn't it? In terms of, you're talking around the screens that talk around the provenance of the coffee beans and the quality of the organic coffee in itself.
Yes, absolutely. So you get this clear view, and you know what you get, and it's authentic, and they really communicate with you, which I really liked about the concept. Next to the baking, you can see there's also hot food to go, which I was impressed. I couldn't see that much in Switzerland and Germany, so it's coming. You can get your hot food to go, and besides that, really cool. You get, I would say, high quality sushi, but also you get bowls, you get your salads, so cold food to go, but really fresh. And also some products, fresh products, which they have either already heated up in the hot food to go, or they heat up for you at the checkout.
Yeah. And I think kind of that banner around the store is, we were discussing earlier on what we should be calling it, whether it's a banner or we couldn't find the right word for it. So if you've got suggestions, then let us know, please. But having that as a digital component, I think, is a really nice touch. It really looks like it creates the right impression, and being able to change that language around the different day and week parts probably opens up some new opportunities there as well in the future.
Absolutely, and I think it's that communication that you need when we talk about fresh, when we talk about design. So you can see now here it's sweet and fresh. Yeah, it fits. It fits sweet for my sweet, actually for my sweet bakery items, but fresh also for a fresh juice. So that's really fits perfectly. You can see also here you can get your fresh juice out of oranges. So overall, I must say, really, and concept, I'm really impressed. And it's not that easy to impress me with a convenience store, especially when it comes to fresh.
Yeah, and a strong focus on kind of healthier and kind of vegan solutions in there as well, you were saying.
Yes, so I was impressed. I looked at the ice creams, and I could find actually in store 10 different vegan ice cream, different vegan ice creams. So I did not expect it, but it was quite nice that they really think about that, and it's not just wordings or some pictures. No, you can find that in the store. And I talked to the guys. They clearly told me, we want to create a new image, going away from Amigrolino, which is known for being in a petrol station, and now going into having a goods, which is, it can be in the future in a petrol station, but it's known for fresh, healthy, modern design.
So a really important step forward there for Migrolino, and I think just that location is quite interesting. It's at a train station, makes things easier in Switzerland for longer opening. But it's residential, but also leisure oriented. And the way you described the store met those broader needs for today, whether it be around food, drink, or indeed accompanying items as well. that struck me as a really impressive focus, and just highlighted how well thought through the concept was as a whole.
Yeah, I can just agree on that. I think all that we have discussed about design, modern technology, fresh, but also taking a look into, let's say, the location, how the look and feel is, and also about the future. People want to spend a bit more time, especially thinking about home office. They really thought about that, and you could actually spend several hours there working, having your lunch, having some coffee, and yeah, it's really a successful project, I would say.
Very good. But that's not the only opening that we've seen in Switzerland recently, Ben.
There's actually happening a lot in Switzerland. You can remember we talked last time about the Migros, about Bridge in Zurich. Now the one of the main competitors, Coop, also launched a new store concept in Bern, which is kind of interesting. So you see here they really focused on a food, kind of a little food court. So you see here you get your bowls, you get your pasta freshly made in the store. You have a huge assortment of bakery items. You have another own bakery section, and on the left hand side there you can see they have a lounge as well. So they really think about making or using food to go, freshness, fresh foods as an, I would say, key differentiator, and to get people coming into the store. And I must say the overall design, the assortment, and also the freshness are really outstanding.
Very good. One definitely to add to our list to visit very soon.
Absolutely. So I would say when it comes to the DACH market, so German-speaking market, we can see a lot of movement at the moment, and especially a lot of, when it comes to food to go and fresh, is coming from Switzerland, which is, you have to keep in mind, wages are quite high, but they really see that as a key differentiator and something that can really bring benefits in a long-term perspective.
And I think that's quite interesting from the perspective of how to excel in fresh, where it's hard to get that labor at the right price. So it's just around kind of thinking a little bit differently around the store layouts. And I think that's something that's kind of relevant for us in the UK right now as well, with kind of clearly it being harder than it used to be to recruit kind of high quality staff. Spencer, you're back with us now, which is brilliant. And I did give you a formal welcome earlier on. It was all good. I promise you that.
You can do it. You can do it again. Go on.
but welcome. And we're delighted to have you with us today. We're just going to finish going through some of the other latest developments as well, and then we'll ask Spencer to talk a little bit more around kind of how he's been developing that Pure business recently, some of the changes in place, and some of the opportunities ahead. But before that, just a whistle-stop tour of Europe to carry on. Another really interesting convenience format development that has taken place since we last met is the Monoprix Monop concept, which is open in Paris. And a few interesting things around this store. Again, it's a little bit like the goods store, kind of pushing convenience thinking in a number of different ways. So, for example, you see the kitchen there where they have a series of daily specials, very much designed around meeting the twin missions of something to eat in and something to take home. So again, we see more blurring around that food for now and food for later space. Bulk, or vrac as they call it in France, is actually pretty much integrated across a store format. So we see here the relevant kind of refillable product put into the individual categories in store rather than put in one bulk section in the store, which is quite an interesting development from that perspective. And another one here is how they work with a local bigger Monoprix store as a kind of hub and spoke solution, offering things like freshly cut meat and fish, for example. The other aspect of this, which is quite interesting and quite differentiated, is around the kind of free loan services that they offer. Now, in this store, in a fairly urban location, is actually about things like skateboards and electric guitars that you can hire at no charge for the weekend. But really, the core principles here are around providing solutions that are relevant to that local community. And there's something in that we see with a lot of potential in the longer term. a quick whistle-stop tour of a couple of others before we get on to talk to Spencer. We've seen the latest opening of the Morrison's Market Kitchen in London over the past few weeks. This one actually with quite a lot of seating, as you'll see, which is kind of a really significant step forward. This is in Wood Green, which is in northeast London. And again, kind of existing concepts complemented by a couple of new ones as well. So the new one in this one was really a veg social concept. A lot of it is around kind of mac and cheese with toppings. But I think what's really interesting is, well, one, it's another impressive market kitchen development from Morrison's, and another one that pushes the thinking further in terms of what they're doing overall. There are more of these on the way. So I think kind of watch this space for the next openings, which I believe are in Leeds. Couple of other stores just to flag very briefly. One which I saw on my holidays, but it's been kind of one which opened earlier this year, and one that's actually really interesting in terms of how it really celebrates local. So this is a spa store, a fairly large spa store in Cornwall, in a village called Carnan Downs. It used to be my grandparents' local store, and it's always been a good store, but actually has really pushed on in the past year with the recent upgrade. So there's a local butcher who has a concession counter in store. There's a range of local partnerships that really celebrate local products in ways which you don't generally see. The milk on tap, for example, from Trewithen Daily. And there's some nice, I guess, premium development in the store as well, around some of those key categories. So, for example, they work with premium wine supplier Laithwaites in a dedicated range. And also there's a pretty extensive range of cooked frozen premium ready meals in store as well. So a really interesting one in pushing that local side of things forward, and one that is a little bit out of the way, but it is worth a visit. And I think the final one I wanted to touch on, because I visited it since we last spoke, is Scott Mid's latest Edinburgh flagship store in Leven Street, which really is a great urban supermarket concept, very much with food to go at the heart of what they're doing there. Food to go is what you see on entry, and it really kind of drives perceptions of the store as a whole. It's impressive, and I think the way that those different meal times, those different missions are met throughout the day is something which is really well done. So again, kind of another one that's well worth a visit if you do find yourself in Edinburgh anytime soon. Co-op on the go as well has opened since we last met. This latest iteration of the on-the-go format actually takes it forward several steps from what we've seen before. So there's a coffee pod alongside the main store, for example, and I guess new range developments, really focusing on some of those growth areas. So the partnership with Yo Sushi is pretty prominent in the store, and also the development of Co-op's own Grow, kind of plant-based brand as well, is another feature. Clearly, lots of hot food in there as well. And again, it will be really interesting to see the development of that format as well. That's just about it for the latest development. We could have spent the whole session on that, but there's lots going on right now. And I think we find ourselves in exciting times, which sounds like a great opportunity to introduce you once more, Spencer, and maybe just to get a little bit of background from you for those who maybe haven't come across the Pure concept before, of the story so far, what it's all about, kind of where you started and where you've got to now.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Gavin, Ben, thank you. Pure is a mainly London-based and travel hub food to go business. Our mission is to put some pleasure back into food to go, to make sure that our food is fresh, because most of it's made on site. And fun. It's not too serious, but healthy at the same time. So for any of you that have been into our shops, we have a kind of extensive breakfast range of super eggs and toasties and oat milk porridge and plant-based juices and smoothies, and a big coffee offering as well. And then lunchtime is cold, which you can see there is salads and wraps, and then hot food of soups, toasties, and hot boxes. Which, thank you, my assistant, Gavin. right on time. Thank you very much. All the cold food is made on site, including the smoothies and juices. And sort of to Ben, some of the examples you're seeing there. What is our competitive advantage? Well, it is that it's made on site, and that allows us to be more experimental with some of the flavors and add in different ingredients. use a lot of avocado. Avocado is quite difficult over a couple of days to use, as people probably on this call kind of realise. So it's about a lot to do with freshness, but a lot to do with health. And I guess over the last 18 months, we've pushed much harder into that area, and we're about to launch a new menu based largely around breakfast and coffee over the coming about 2 weeks' time, and there'll be about 10 new items, which are, I think, 9 of which are plant-based or entirely vegan, either vegetarian or vegan. So more healthy than ever before. And as we come out of this this last 18 months, that we are more focused than ever on delivering that mission.
And I think for me, Spencer, it's always been. I mean, I've kind of admired your concept for some considerable time now, and I've brought many a safari group in to visit, and I think without exception, they've all been really impressed by the overall concept, the look and feel, as you say, the fun and friendliness of the concept, and some of the work behind the individual products as well has really stood out in terms of, as you say, healthier options, and making those healthier options accessible.
Yeah, got to taste good. It's not, we're not a health food shop, right? And that's a big thing for us. And it's not, and the branding is not a Whole Foods type. It's meant to be a bit more fun but accessible. And we are really excited, despite what's happened the last 18 months, about how young people are behaving. Less drinking, more time in the gym. I'm not like a kind of gym bunny or something buff like that, but I am really interested in making sure when people are out of the home and on the move, that they can find the food that they want. It's no longer just a bit of fuel to fill them up. It is something that it's a more meaningful kind of breakfast or lunch that meets their needs to go with their lifestyle.
Yeah. Absolutely, and in terms of the stores themselves, and I think there's a good split between kind of the grab and go and also the counter serve proposition as well, where you do kind of push on into more of the hot food area.
Yeah, so it's hot. It's hot. I mean, it's probably this is one of the it's hot over the counter and cold from the fridge. So traditional grab and go, but we felt like on the hot side in particular, we can deliver a far better product over the counter than we can putting it into hot langers, hot cupboards, whatever we use, or whatever the industry kind of word is, like the pret-a-manger style of grabbing your own hot food that way. We think we can deliver a better product. And again, it's a point of difference for us. Differentiating factor is that, again, some of the stuff that Ben showed before, in the convenience location, they are doing hot held in that way, but our hot food is over the counter.
Yeah, and you've got 20 stores, is that right?
20 stores, and our focus is really on high footfall travel locations. So we're high footfall travel and office locations. There aren't many high footfall office locations these days, so let's focus on the travel ones for this call. We're in 4 Network Rail sites. We're in Hammersmith Station. We're in Gatwick Airport, and then all over the city, West End as well. So that's the main thing. So, that's Canary
Yeah, and as a London centric operator, clearly that's had the whole impact of the world working from home has had kind of a major impact on how you do business. But I think kind of as we mentioned earlier on, in terms of when we were discussing what we talk around today, we've seen that coming back, but more in some areas than others.
Yeah. The next 3 weeks are quite. We don't. To the honest answer, we don't really know where we are until the end of September. Once schools are back, some return to office becomes a bit more formal. Students are back. Potentially some more international kind of travel and events take place and stuff like that, which are all big parts of our business. Actually, I guess one of the exciting things actually about what's happened is that it's allowed us to sort of think about our customers slightly differently, whereas we were heavily focused on the office worker before. Actually, our sales recovery without the office population being back has been better than we would have thought. And so it's actually been, you never, obviously, please don't let this happen again, but you never get the chance to sort of see that see that clarity, see exactly where people are coming from in that way. But I'd rather the office workers were here, obviously.
Yes.
And so I'm excited when they come back. We're better than we ever have been. We've got a better offer, team are better, operationally we're stronger. The menu is the best it's ever been. So yeah, it's been brutal, right? There's no point denying that. But the next 3-4 weeks are exciting.
Absolutely. And I think kind of one of the other things that we mentioned when we were talking was around how, should we say that the recovery in footfall levels has been quite variable according to which part of the city you happen to be in, which I'm sure creates all kinds of conundrums around forecasting and planning for you guys, Spencer.
Yeah, I mean, again, for everyone on this call, the beauty of our businesses really is the consistency historically, and that allows you to put a certain amount of, as you mentioned, about paying your team right and having a certain number of people, and that consistency is great. So it's been extremely difficult, and there's you try your best, but I guess maybe the point you're trying to make is one of the things we have seen is the weekends are busier. So weekends, Friday night is busy, Saturday night is very busy, so people are happy to socialise, just maybe not come into the office.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of an interesting one longer term when you think, I guess, not just around some of those transit locations you mentioned, the networked railway stations, but also around kind of where perhaps some of those locations in the future might be as well.
Correct. Yeah, and we yeah, exactly. I sort of said this the other day. Sorry to go back on that, but we don't really quite know yet, and so maybe we'll talk about the future in a minute. But in terms of where we open next, we've got plenty of ideas and all that type of stuff. But the next kind of month or so will give us a bit better indication as to kind of where the future is. Yeah.
And I think, I think the key point there is that there's still a huge amount up for grabs, and a huge amount that is TBC at this stage. And Ben, how does that charm with what you're hearing from some of your kind of retail customers across Europe?
So actually, it's kind of similar that you have to come across and work with the changing customer behavior, with changing habits, but also the changing situation. But we can also see, and let's see, something is going to happen. And like Spencer said, end of September, when schools, universities are back, when people also tend to be more in the office again, this can change a little bit. But I would say kind of interesting what we've seen as well is that they have recognized it's not just the office workers, it's also probably people living around the area being attractive for them, being attractive in other parts of the day for them, and seeing a lot of new opportunities which were probably not seen before because we already were kind of busy because of office workers.
Yeah, and I guess that's probably less relevant for many of your sites, Spencer, in terms of the residential side, but places like Hammersmith, it probably does come into play more.
Yeah, I think one of the things for us is that we over-index in the 18 to 35-year-olds. That in terms of the market share versus our competitors, we do better in that sector because of the type of food, our sustainability agenda. So as those people have come out and are on the move and are socializing and not necessarily coming into the office, but on the move again, or maybe they work in other retail environments as well. So that's been a kind of it's been a reminder of that. We knew that market was our market, but those are the ones that maybe don't always work in offices. They're students or other things as well that we haven't sort of thought about in the same way pre-COVID, but now we are obviously embracing it fully.
And I think also very clearly during COVID, you made a number of kind of key strategic developments, and I think your online offer was developed significantly in that period. How is that doing for you now?
Well, I'll go forward on the maybe we had a very significant catering business before, and we were doing it from a very bad website. So we needed to improve that, which we've done, and we built a CRM system. When I built it, we white labeling something. So we have a much improved B2B kind of website, ordering system, CRM, delivery platform. It's a market leading. I think it's brilliant. And then we've also turned that on the consumer as well, and on the B2C side, and have introduced a click and collect service with a membership element. So you join, you pay $4.99 a month, and you get 20% off. Yeah, thank you. All the orders, and you get lots of free gifts. We do a thing called Free Smoothie Monday, where if you remember, you get a free smoothie on a Monday. Obviously, as the name suggests, you get other free gifts. We obviously, for everyone on here as well, we get to see consumer behaviour. We get to see where you are, when you're coming in, what you're buying. And so for the future, for the next 5-10 years of the brand, this is going to be a key sales channel for us. I guess that one of the questions for us is whether we pursue click and collect, or whether we turn to a in-store kind of ordering kiosk solution as part of our development. But we're not sure yet. As in, but at the moment, this is our main digital channel, is the click and collect. And again, very 18 to 35-year-olds. That's how they interact. That's what they do. And so it's been a really brilliant journey so far, and very excited for the next month, what happens there.
Very interesting, and I think kind of pushing on and exploring new channels, it has certainly been something which has been important for many of us over the past 18 months. I wanted to talk a little bit more around some of those kind of points of difference that you kind of really call out. And I think for me, that healthier and plant-based side of things is certainly something which comes through. And I guess kind of going forward, that is set to become even more important, you say, with the new launch of the breakfast menu?
Yeah, so number one is taste. And it has to taste brilliant, and that is the key thing. I'm not vegan or vegetarian. I am during the week. Because a lot of our food is vegetarian and vegan, so I always think that, and none of our food development team are vegetarian or vegan. So we're trying to make it healthier, kinder to the planet, but without being like at all costs. But what it's allowed us to do is just to think about stuff slightly differently. So I'll give you an example. We have a Bircher range. It used to be made with Greek yogurt. It's now made with coconut yogurt. It's now vegan. I don't think that might offend some of the Swiss people maybe here, but from a taste point of view, you wouldn't necessarily know, but it sort of changes like that within the menu. It's so we used to use so a lot more Greek yogurt, but now or sort of Greek style yogurt, but now we use a lot more kind of coconut yogurt. It's stuff like that. Our porridge is oat milk porridge, and again, you wouldn't necessarily know it's oat milk.
Okay.
There's quite a lot of feedback there. Is that coming from me?
I can hear that as well. I'm not sure where it's coming from. It's Ben.
That's Ben.
Okay.
Ben humming in. So so we sell oat milk porridge, which is the one porridge we do, but it's absolutely delicious. And so it's stuff like that. We're not calling it out the whole time, and so some people wouldn't even know. They just get a delicious porridge. So it's that journey that we've been on to say, look, taste is first, but how can we make this more tastier, environmentally friendly, vegetarian, vegan, so that the audience that can have it is as big as possible, and people that are not vegetarian or vegan will just still enjoy it anyway. It's not discriminatory in that way. So that's a big part of what we do.
So accessibility.
Yeah, it's massive. Yeah, and I hope that you come in. It's great to hear that you come in and you think it's fun and interesting, and that's exactly the reaction that we would like it to be, rather than like, oh God, okay, well, I've got to have a vegetarian option today. It shouldn't be like that.
Exactly. It really feels kind of welcoming, and it's. I mean, certainly when I've been in, it's been easy to spot which are the vegan or vegetarian options. But it's not felt like you've been forced to make any compromises when you choose those. No,
exactly. And then if we want that stuff, so just back on there, that on that overhead shot there, you've got the chili and a Thai red chicken. So if you want a big hearty meat high protein meal, like that's there for you too, so it's not all just kind of one thing, but
Very good. I also wanted to talk a little bit more around kind of breakfast, because I think ever since we've met, Spencer, you've kind of said absolutely it's a priority area for us. The eggs are a core element of the offer, and to be fair, whenever I've been in, they've always been excellent.
Yes.
Excuse the pun. And
Yeah.
I think it really does come through as a key strength, and that's quite interesting right now, because actually what we've seen from others is maybe reining back in that breakfast focus.
Yeah. So we are very much a breakfast. We do breakfast, lunch, coffee, and catering. That's our 4 kind of areas where we can excel. At breakfast time, the burrito guys, the Japanese guys, or other Asian cuisines, the bao buns, whatever it is, can't compete. The coffee guys, as brilliant as Starbucks and Costa and Nero are, they're coffee first and food, I would say second, but maybe it's even lower than that. And so this market is wide open for us. It's prep. Have a strong in the London market, right? A very strong offer, but they're restricted a bit on the hot side. Leon have a great hot offer, but no cold food at all. It's not what they do at breakfast. So the combination of brilliant coffee along with a cold and hot range. We think we have the best range of breakfast options, healthy, hot, cold, and we are going as hard as we ever have done as people return over the coming weeks. So very, very excited for us, and good news. Other people are pulling back even further. That's great. It's you have to be, obviously, wherever you do, fully committed, and we're completely committed to the breakfast mission.
Very good. And I think we touched already on some of those kind of changing trading patterns. But in terms of, I guess, kind of, it's really kind of what happens in the next 3 months will be key in terms of, I guess, sharing what the opportunity is longer term around those different day parts and the different missions. Is that fair?
Absolutely. No one quite. We don't quite know yet. What we do know in London is that a lot of supply, unfortunately, for people have closed shops. We closed a couple of shops, and so a lot of supply has come out. So to be confirmed over the coming weeks, months, what that does, when demand comes back up, where those two kind of things sit alongside each other, and how people eat and what people do, and so let's see.
Very interesting times, and I guess kind of looking at kind of where you are now and looking at some of those strengths that you called out earlier. Maybe Spencer, you could just tell us a little bit more about that kind of that catering side of things at B2B, and maybe a bit of background as well, if you can, in terms of where you come from and where you see the opportunity for it.
Well, this is huge for us. It was a very big part of our business before. We think it will be even bigger now. If companies are serious about workplace well-being, the health of their team, sustainability, the food that they put on the table or an event counts. And I don't think employees that are interested in health will be happy if a triangular sandwich with a bit of ham curled up inside turns up on the table. It's not acceptable for the brand, and so we work with the biggest, best companies in the world in this who get this, who get it, who understand, and they want to be associated with our brand and do that. So this is massive for us, and we're excited to see it coming back already, and how further, I suppose, in the kind of in the B&I sector, how that recovers, and how companies use food in their offices to create a better working environment. We're very excited by that. So there's lots of opportunity for us.
I agree. Ben, sorry, carry on.
I definitely think about in future, and we could hear that from customers as well already, that if you offer good foods in your offices, then you get people also coming or willing to come more often to the office nowadays, instead of just, if you have better food at home or next to you, you have no actually motivation or
Yeah.
not, or get more motivation to go to the office actually.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one thing we talk about is that it's got to be, it's for everyone in London, every service and stuff. It's got to be more convenient to come to the office. I know that
Yeah.
sounds odd when you're commuting in someone's armpit or something, but the gyms, the food, the optician, the dentist, the physios, the doctor, whatever, all those services, the hairdressers, that we're all here to make life more convenient. And of course, commuting is expensive and tricky, but all of us, everyone, every service that operated before has to be better than ever to remind people that it's more convenient. That's exactly the kind of the terminology that we use. That it's better, it's more convenient, easier to be at the office than it is to be at home.
And it feels to me like employers as brands need to be more multifaceted than maybe they were in the past. If you're kind of looking at what that whole proposition is around working for a particular business, then it's that whole work experience rather than just what you do in your working hours.
Correct. Yes, I think there's a lot of pressure on employers here, but this is one, the food, where it's so obvious. If you're talking about well-being and you're not providing something that is in keeping with that, it's kind of glaringly obvious to the employees. So this is big for us, massive for us, and we won awards for the catering, and very excited to see where we land over the coming weeks, months.
And would you consider opening kind of in-office dedicated branches at any stage in the future as well, Spencer?
Yeah. I mean, it's not. Yes, we would, and maybe soon.
Keep an open mind on that one. It's one of those things where I think there's a lot still up in the air, and it will be fascinating to see how that lands. But certainly there will be a lot of change along the way. So some opportunities hopefully that come along with that as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's we're looking at that market, for sure.
Very good. And another area that you mentioned to us as well was around you're still looking at some of those new store opportunities.
We particularly. I mean, sorry, Gavin, go on.
No, you carry on.
Yeah, particularly travel has been where we really wanted. Was where when you're on the move, like really on the move, right? As in literally you're about to get a plane or about to get a train. That's really where we feel our sweet spot in terms of how we're set up as a business and what the food and what we do. So more and more around travel locations. That's definite for us, and I don't think we'll do anything this year, but Q1 next year. We should have something else in another travel location. In terms of high street, we're just not quite sure yet. As we said the other day, we've got another month to go. Give it another month to see where we land, and because there's huge opportunities in central London, right? I mean, I think that's a fairly obvious. There's lots of stuff that's closed and moved around, so to be confirmed where we end up centrally.
Very good, and I think a couple of aspects around that as well. Clearly, we've seen a lot of growth in, should we say, some of those commuter towns that circle London. Would that be on your agenda at some stage to look at?
Possibly. I think that there's some brilliant companies that do it, and potentially it's a separate. I think like Gales, for example, had a if I can say this, good. Well, I can say good 18 months, right, rather than good COVID. And it's just a brilliant brand. I love it. I go there myself.
Absolutely.
It's brilliant. It's set up for that. They've taken a decade or been around a bit longer than us to set up for that, and now they're really ready in the same way that we're ready for this high footfall travel locations. We wouldn't dismiss it, and certainly it's on our list, but it might be a slightly different concept, a slightly different variation. I don't think we wouldn't just pick up what we're doing and just stick it in on Berkhamsted High Street or something. It would be a slightly different version, but we don't have any immediate plans, so that's not really that. We know that it would need to be tweaked for that market.
Yeah, and I think kind of you've often said to me that we focus on London. It's easier to control the business there. the operations and just ensure that consistency of delivery. Is that still your thinking, or do you think there might be opportunities to push that a little bit further in terms
I
of
think we'll be
geographies?
in other city centres. I mean, there's 100 sites for us in train stations, airports, central London. Like
Yeah,
that's still all there. The kind of real suburban high street opportunities, I think, is just slightly different for us. We're not the best at that at the moment. I think there's other people that do it really well. I think we are amongst the best because there's brilliant businesses out there in this high footfall travel location where there's different pressures on the time and the type of the consumer, the type of food that you need to be able to sell. So that's where we're real experts.
yeah, and that the Gatwick store opening was a really important one for you guys in that regard. Then I guess a little bit frustrating with the timing.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It's been brilliant to be there. For anyone here that operates in airports, it's a brilliant market to be in. Every day is a new day, right? It's like Groundhog Day. So it's been fantastic for us to see people enjoying the brand. When I've been there several times this summer, and just the type of the customer profile that we're attracting is exactly what we should be attracting, that are coming to us rather than going to the other offers. So I feel like in an airport environment like that, I can really see where the brand sits. And again, the demographic for us is a younger demographic. Like those are the ones that are coming to us. And so I say, the thing we talk about internally, our brand is perfectly positioned for the next decade. That's it. We are of the future. It's been obviously a bumpy 18 months, but we're in that environment. We can really, really see, what our positioning is when people are literally selecting between us and some other brands as to where they go.
And it feels like it. Well, not just in airports, but in many different travel locations, there's an opportunity there for healthier solutions.
Absolutely. And but then you need the sales. You alluded to it before with the kind of the staffing model that we have. It all fits together. You need the high level of sales to make the food on site, to make it as fresh as possible, to be able to have the number of tills open that then generate the sales. So it needs those high volume. That's the operation and the way it works best.
And talking about the next door or locations, how much does the data that you now collect, which we discussed before, help you in order to make this decision even, or get more precise data to make a good decision for the future? So does this have an influence?
Yeah, that's a really good question. At the moment, we're using the data really around like what people are eating and stuff like that in terms of like in the future. And I'm a bit, I'll answer the end bit first and then come back to the answer, which is consumer behavior is so distorted right now. I'm a bit reluctant to ask people what they sort of, to go to them, what do you want? Where do it's difficult to say, but as and when we're ready, as and when we look at, again, and consumer behavior is a bit more stable, then yes, we will use that, our big database now to be able to say, where do you go? Where else do you shop? Where would you like us to open? So it's brilliant to be able to access that community.
Yeah, no, I think that should be a rich source of knowledge and insight in the longer term. There was another aspect that kind of you mentioned to us earlier on, Spencer, which was around maybe some of those additional opportunities for Pure product. Tell us what you've got in mind there.
Well, we have 20 stores, in central London, and obviously we can open more stores, but we want to get our brand and our food to as many people as possible. So over the coming probably 6-12 months, you will hopefully start to see the Pure brand appear in places under license or kind of franchising that we haven't sort of done until this point. So we're particularly interested in providing food in places that sell a lot of food, but aren't necessarily food retailers. So when you get on a train, for example, you are forced to buy something. Hopefully, no one on here makes the food. Something against maybe your better judgment. But I think that the quality of food on the go in non-food retailers is We think we've got a really significant place to play there, as people, become more picky and, again, don't want just anything served to them when they're on a train, or in another up to train platform somewhere,
Yeah.
where there isn't a massive choice. So there's some really exciting things for us, for the brand beyond that.
And that creates some, I guess, interesting opportunities, and presumably that same thinking could longer term be applied to, I don't know, locations like aeroplanes or gyms or a whole host of different venues going forward.
Exactly, yeah. There's some really exciting things to come, and again, we've had a chance to maybe pause a little bit over the last kind of year to say, actually, look, to fulfill our mission to really help people eat more healthily on the move. We need partnerships, because to get beyond the physical stores. That's been really exciting. So there's lots of nothing to share today.
Okay.
Hopefully, over the next 6 months, that you'll start to see some stuff happening.
And I suppose just from that perspective as well, when you and I have spoken before, you've spoken around kind of some of the difficulties of targeting should we say, the evening mission from a store perspective. But actually, if you're starting to look at some of those partnerships, it might open that up more as well.
Maybe we're not. As I said sort of earlier, I think the evening market also is just brilliantly well served, and it's a slightly different mission for us. And
I suppose, Spencer, what I was really thinking about there was more around the kind of take home.
Yeah. It's. I think we have a good offer in the evening, but I think there are better. I think there are people that could potentially do that better, and really where we are focused on our menu development and stuff is that breakfast and lunch.
Fair enough.
Missions.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that our food. I have pure food 3 times a day most days, and I have it for my evening meal very often. But I think there are just other brilliant brands out there, and so we've got to know where we are in breakfast and lunch and coffee. That's where we can really. I think we're really good, and we can do really well. And so those are the missions, and then food to go. Obviously, in other places, those are the things that we're really focused on.
I just keep looking at the high protein chili bowl and thinking, I'd love to have that for my dinner tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be, and people do, right? Lots of people do. It's just, So we it's part of what we do, and we obviously in the airports, the stations, and in the office locations when people are working late. It's a big part of our day. But as I said, we are more focused on breakfast and lunch and the coffee catering markets.
And how do you, you mentioned around the B2B and some of the click and collect activity that you've been looking at. What's your view on, I guess, the online delivery opportunity? Is that something that is on your radar?
Well, we work with all the 3 big, we call them third-party providers. That market is good for us. It's, as it is for most people, it's recovered much faster than as in percentage sales wise. We're basically where we were 2 years. We're back to, that's the only sort of revenue stream that is flat. That's good, and that's been a good market for us. So I don't think we can ever. We're not trying to penetrate, for example, the individual order market, so that someone, say at their desk, orders a £15 lunch from us directly. Mm-hmm. It's sewn up by Deliveroo or Uber. That we're never gonna, even with the margin in there, we're never gonna muscle it on that market. So we do it. It's good, but obviously very competitive marketplace, and so much choice for the consumer. So we're there.
Yeah, so it's playing in that market and using it as a. Well, I guess when you develop stores, you kind of keep that in mind, but you're not about to go off and open lots of dark kitchens for Pure across the country.
No.
Okay. All makes sense. I think that's been super fascinating in terms of kind of helping us to better understand the Pure business, Spencer. So thank you for that. I guess we've touched already on some of those your outlook for the months ahead, I guess, is more in terms of so what are there any kind of particular signs that you're looking out for? You mentioned the return of people to the office. That's probably the key one. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's a more about just what is consumer behaviour of the future before we make any kind of other long-term decisions about where we open next. So, what is consumer behaviour going to be? Whether that is, return to the office is part of that, but just how people move around in the new world and how people behave. Yeah. So that's the main thing.
And I guess my kind of build on that would be just it's how those consumer attitudes change over the next few months in terms of the willingness to do things like get on a flight, even getting on a train to go into work, and just where people are it's just hard to know right now, and I think it's a very individual decision.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that so we, as I said, consumer behaviour is difficult to. I read every survey and report and stuff like that, and it changes. It's changed so much. Anyway, so like let's get this kind of next quarter, under our belts and see where we are as what consumer behaviour is, and then we can make some other planning decisions about where we open.
That all makes sense. Ben, any builds up from you on that?
No, I think I can just share what Spencer said. I think we have a lot of changes in surveys and statistics about customer behavior. I think we could show that in the beginning today. What we can see what have changed when it comes to customers is clearly, let's say, they go towards more fresh and healthy food. I think this is something which was accelerating during the last months, but the question is now, where do they want that food? I think we had that discussion, and we could clearly hear that from other retailers that the situation of home offices really helped others, which locations outside of cities or locations in residential areas to get or come across with new missions, probably the lunch mission, which they did not have before. And when you offer fresh and healthy, that's definitely something which will stay. The question is only where are the people that want to eat that. But I'm 100% sure that this trend stays, and this will be even bigger towards quality, freshness, and healthy food.
Yeah, and I think the overlay on that of sustainability. I was just listening back on our webinar with David earlier today from Green Food and Piccadilly, and that kind of really just reminded me of their focus on that. And I think kind of you have a similar focus on that broader sustainability agenda, Spencer. So from my perspective, that looks spot on in terms of where successful businesses need to be in the future.
We're ready.
Great stuff. Well, thank you ever so much for that, Spencer. Really, really interesting stuff around that. You're actually talking at lunch later in the month as well, are you?
Yeah, I'm out. You can't get away from me.
Very good. You can't get away from me either. I'll be there and speaking, and looking forward to hopefully seeing many of you listening in today in person there as well. Ben, you're coming over for that event as well?
We come over for lunch as well, so really looking forward to meet up with you guys and have a chat, and also to listening to your speeches. So I'm really excited to be there and find out more about trends, and talk also to you guys from the webinar.
Excellent. Meeting face to face with many new friends.
Absolutely.
And I think that's just time now to mention that we've already planned our next webinar, and we are super excited that we have the founder and CEO of Choice, Mike Fogarty, on the next session. We will share the link. In fact, it's in the chat now, but we'll share it over the next few days as well, so you can sign up for that one. And that's a really fascinating business, and part of that new breed of US convenience stores. So really interesting one coming up there. Thanks ever so much to everyone for listening. Ben, do you want to close the session?
I want to say thank you to everyone for being on the session today. Special thanks to Spencer for being our guest today. It was really interesting and fascinating to see this, I would say, authentic concept thought through with sustainability, fresh quality, and I would say that's really a benchmark globally when it comes to fresh food to go. So thank you for being our guest today, and thank you all of you for having been with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Spencer.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers. See you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.